Greetings and welcome to Pop's Collection, where we dissect and reflect on a movie or TV show from my Pop's Collection. I'm Ron Tweedy, joining me is Pops, and today we're going to be talking about X-Men Apocalypse.
That's right. Hello, everybody. So glad you're with us today. Um, yeah, I'm going to class this as maybe two different things. We call it Mystique's mission trip. Since we had a mission trip on the last one, we have another mission trip here. Or we could call it the last good X-Men movie.
For now.
For now, right. We have to say for now, but our next two after this are Dark Phoenix and New Mutants. So,
Right.
yeah, not a whole lot of, and I
But
don't
Logan
know.
came out after this as well, so, Logan was a good film.
That's true. That is true. I'm sorry. And Apocalypse was the character's name, the bad guy. I forgot that because I was remembering N. Sabah Noor is what they
Right.
called him.
Ra's al Ghul, yeah.
Yeah, kind of like Ra's al Ghul, right. He is Oscar Isaac, though.
Yeah.
Who was Poe Dameron in Star Wars.
Right.
And in 2022, I know we've already had our excitement about what's going to be on Disney Channel Marvel, but Disney Plus, he's going to be playing a character called Moon Knight.
Right.
I don't know if you knew that or not, but
yeah, I did.
I hadn't seen anything else about that other than the character itself is kind of like of a Batman character.
Yeah, he was first introduced in Werewolf by Night, I think was the name of the comic. So
yes.
The characteristics of him is that he was a werewolf hunter, and because his armor and weapons were of silver, obviously that being a werewolf's weakness, that was kind of how he was introduced. But then he turned into like some mystic character that
he had superpowers for a little while, and then he lost them.
Right. So,
but yeah, another minor character that they're going to bring out.
Yep.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
This is from 2016. So
yes,
we actually there was two release dates. They released it in London first on May 9th, and then waited all the way till the 27th to introduce it into the U.S.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know what to say about the special effects in this movie. Their budget was 178 million. They had more of a budget for the last movie than they did for this one. It did pretty good though. 544 million, or almost 544 million.
Right.
I thought that was I guess you could consider it a successful movie.
Yeah, definitely.
But like I mentioned, Mystique's missions trip, I think she was of this opinion that she wanted to help mutants and, get out. There were still mutants that were being abused at that time.
Yeah.
So we got to meet, actually, there's a lot of mutants in this particular episode.
Yep.
So we had Raven, Mystique, Caliban,
right,
who is in the Logan, right? We got a quick look at the Blob.
Yeah.
Yes, backside look, no question. Nightcrawler, different Nightcrawler from the original series.
Uh-huh.
Jubilee.
Yep.
We had Havoc at, he was actually at the school first
Mhm.
before he brought his brother there. Cyclops or Scott, whichever you want to prefer. Jean Grey. We had Beast. We had a special appearance, which was uncredited in the movie of Weapon X.
Right. Yeah.
You know, uh, which when we decide to talk about that, um, uh, it kind of doesn't. You know how some of the parts of the movie seem to flow together, where you could see how, oh, this goes back to the original, this goes to the next, or what have you. Um, the part with Weapon X and Jean Grey somehow didn't seem to flow, uh, because in the original movie, he meets Jean for the first time, I think, right? In the original movie.
I believe so, but remember that after the events of the previous film, it kind of puts it in a new timeline. So,
True, that's true.
they're
Yes.
allowed to reinterpret the events of the other films because of that.
Okay, we can go with that. All right. So, the character Apocalypse, what did you think about him?
I mean, fine, I guess. For my perspective, my only real familiarity with him was through the X-Men animated TV series in the early 90s and a little bit from a couple video games that he was in. So, obviously, the extent of my knowledge of him, he was just a very powerful mutant that can manipulate his uh, mass and matter. So that kind of similar to what this is, but he did have humble beginnings as well. He first appeared in the comic X Factor, pretty early on in the run. And X Factor was a comic that you can see here. They actually brought back the original X-Men lineup for this book specifically. So you got Angel, you got Jean Grey, you got Cyclops, Bobby Drake, and Beast. And this is the actual first appearance of Apocalypse way at the very end. He's got like a little bit of a cameo, and you kind of just see his shadow. And you can tell he kind of looks kind of goofy on this one. But anyway, the plot behind it was that he wanted this particular mutant so he could manipulate and steal his powers. The X Factor in the beginning started out as an organization that would hunt down mutants. Little did they know is that they were actually secretly run by mutants to help other mutants to, become productive members of society. So a little bit different than the X-Men's original mission, but something similar. His first full appearance here is in issue number 6. And, one of the notes I'd make of this is that um, this particular story written by Louise Simonson, who is Walt Simonson's wife. So a little bit of a connection there. And,
That's nice. I was actually going to ask you who wrote the X Factor story, because that was, for some reason, that was never an X that I got into, you
yeah.
know?
Well, it was a little bit controversial. You can see actually it's just some shots of Apocalypse here, and it's form very similar to his appearance in other media. But the what was controversial about this book in particular is that up until then they had changed the lineup of the X-Men quite considerably. So the first thing that happened was that Jean Grey was presumed dead as part of the Dark Phoenix saga, and it was the intention of Jim Shooter and Chris Claremont, who was the writer, and
Right.
Claremont was the writer. Jim Shooter was the editor in chief at the time. He's still editor in chief for X Factor, I think. And Jim Shooter's a kind of controversial figure in the comics industry. He made a lot of decisions that people didn't necessarily agree with, but in my opinion, I actually am a big Jim Shooter fan. I think that Marvel's best, he was editor in chief. because you had things like Frank Miller's Daredevil, the Chris Claremont X-Men run. You had Walt Simonson's Thor, all kinds of stuff that's just, classic Marvel in my opinion.
Really, really good writing, and
Yeah.
they
And he
had a
also
lot of good artists working at that time too.
right, and he was also the brains behind the crossover events like Secret Wars and stuff like that. But anyway, suffice all of that to say is that at this time in the X-Men continuity, Jean Grey is dead, and Cyclops actually leaves the X-Men because he kind of has a bit of an identity crisis because of the loss of Jean, and then he finds a wife who looks very similar to Jean,
Close to Jean, yeah.
Madeline Pryor, and he has a son with her, and he leaves them to join X Factor, and they bring back Jean. And so the convoluted comic explanation was that the Phoenix Force actually buried Jean under she was like in stasis somewhere, and all of the events that happened at Dark Phoenix wasn't actually Jean, it was actually the Phoenix Force. And so a lot of
Wow.
normal comic book chicanery that we come to expect over the decades, but in a lot of ways, a lot of fans were very upset at that. It's kind of one of those things where I forget there was a television show that kind of did that, where they kind of one season was completely like just happened in the mind of somebody else, and it just was very people were really upset
Yes.
about that. So
Yes.
it's kind of the same thing. They wanted to do that, but for this X Factor book, they wanted to bring back the original lineup and kind of have them go on adventures from there, which I understand that, but at the same time, it's like, okay. Yeah. But anyway, that's the source material that we're drawing from in some ways, and in other ways, kind of continuing on the particular story that we're being told, starting with First Class, and now we're in the third film of this timeline.
Right. And this is our third period piece. We're in the 80s now.
That's right, 1983.
Right. But we do get what I thought was an interesting take. We had Apocalypse going to Aurora's apartment or place of her dwelling and looking at Star Trek on TV.
Yeah, exactly. Let's call back to the previous film where they had Star Trek in the background.
Yes, but different show, Who Mourns Adonis, but kind of a similar type thing where the character Adonis in this episode was like a god.
Yep.
And so here is Apocalypse, who has that same feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And we also get a reference to the Four Horsemen in this.
Yes.
Apocalypse's original Four Horsemen were death, pestilence, famine, and war. And when Beast or Hank says to Moira that, the Four Horsemen of Apocalypse, I got that from the Bible.
Right.
And she says, oh, or did the Bible get it from them?
Right.
Which I was like, I don't really think so. Their storyline is that it's 3600 BC.
Well, that's when the beginning of the film takes place, but the
Right.
Moira's theory is that he actually was around for a lot longer than that.
Right, which we don't really believe that the Earth is that old. Right?
Well, certainly human civilization was not that old.
Right. I don't believe it at all that it was that. But interesting story, nonetheless. We got that. And then when he woke up, we got Charles and Hank going to visit her. Mm-hmm. No, Charles and Scott's brother,
Alex.
Right? Alex. They went to go see Moira.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he knows, but he wiped her mind so that she wouldn't know anything.
Right.
So we had that little plot in the story.
Right.
And we get another little twist too with, like I said, next we have Raven saving Nightcrawler
Right.
at some wrestling event where
Hmm.
I'm assuming they fought to the death.
Well, that's what it looked like. And
Looked like Blob was kind of dead there.
yeah, and Angel was saying to Nightcrawler that if we don't fight, they're going to kill us. And they were all heavily armed, so obviously it was some sort of you know human trafficking, fight to the death.
Mutant trafficking, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of like dogfighting or something like that, except that they're using mutants.
Yes, I thought it was pretty interesting. She was able to, that was her, I guess, her mission in life now was to save other mutants that were being abused.
Yeah.
And so we get Caliban in this
Yeah.
movie. He's pretty much like, you would call it the Underground Railroad, I guess. You could say it was a similar type thing, but for mutants.
Yeah, like smuggling, identity stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that was kind of interesting. And his girl was one of the Psylocke, right? Was
Mhm.
one of his.
Mhm.
So, and the new Four Horsemen was Psylocke, Storm, Angel, and Magneto. So,
Right.
pretty much most of the X-Men except for Psylocke. I think she's a little further down there on the list, and I
Well,
don't really know if she was really on the good side.
well, originally, I mean, she obviously was introduced much later in the X-Men canon. That's why you probably don't remember her. But when she was introduced, she was very popular.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, she was pretty neat. Her powers were kind of cool.
Mhm.
Um, but we had a nice little fight scene there. Um, then we go to the school, I think. And from the school, we go to Poland
Yeah.
and we see Eric.
Right.
And now, this is kind of the really, to me, this is where Eric loses his way. He did everything that he did in the previous movie,
Hmm.
saved Mystique from going down the wrong path.
Sure.
And he walked away from that and he was trying to walk down a right path too, I think.
Mhm.
And I think they told just enough of the story about his family to make you feel that, the closeness and, get that feeling so that when Eric does do something good at the plant where he's working and saves a life,
Yeah.
they come after him.
Yeah.
And tragically, he loses his wife and daughter.
Hmm.
And then he starts heading down the wrong path. And I think Apocalypse, he's modified Angel and Psylocke and Storm,
Hmm.
right? So does he? And he also modifies Magneto too, right?
Yeah.
But he does give him. I guess he's able to, with his powers, able to influence people. Excuse me, to bend their wills to his way. Do you think maybe?
No, I don't think so at all. Because that was the whole plot point at the end with wanting to get Charles's powers, so he could do that. Because
To everybody.
right, but he was just manipulating them. He wasn't using any mind control or anything.
Okay, but he was manipulating them. He was able, I guess he could sense their different issues because he took him back to Germany
Mm-hmm.
to where
Yeah.
it all started.
Right.
And he enhanced his power so he could actually just feel the ground and pull everything up from there. Was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
really, really did make him powerful.
Right.
So we got, when did we had the issue at the school where everything blew up? Do you remember that part?
Yeah.
What was
It,
that part about? And I forgot now. I'm
so
going brain
it's
fart.
Charles was trying to locate Magneto. Apocalypse gets a hold of him, hacks into Cerebro, destroys all the nuclear weapons, and then teleports there to grab the professor as his new host.
Okay, that's what it was. All right.
And then as they left, it was, you know, everything blew up because, you know,
Havoc.
Havoc was trying to stop him from taking him.
Right. And that didn't work.
Right.
But then we got my new fave, Quicksilver, comes in the picture there, and we
Yep.
get another song.
Yeah.
And a whole another treatment of that, getting everybody out of the school.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. To me, I guess because that was so popular with the first or the previous film that they decided to do it again. You know, to me, it's like, I mean, we all know
Already seen that.
Yeah, so it's like, to me, it's like, it's fine, but
Been there, done that. But I think what they did, it's kind of like when you watch a cooking show and you're going to say, you know what, I'm going to make that, but I'm going to add this to like kick it up a notch. And I think that's kind of what they did in this, is they kicked it up a little bit with the blankets and the pillows outside, and
yeah,
you know, all these different things that they did.
Mhm.
But basically it still was the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, but what do you think about their play that Eric is his father?
I mean, that's in the comics.
Yeah, but I mean, if in the comics he's a twin with Wanda, is Wanda his daughter?
Yeah. So here's it's funny because it's kind they retconned it. So the original, they were the children of the Wizard and some other Golden Age.
Yes, that's
that
the
was
way I
their,
remember it.
but they retconned it in the 80s, saying that actually they were just the adoptive parents. Their real mother, her name was Magda, which is also Magneto's wife in this film.
Yes.
She's pregnant with the twins. She ends up on the doorsteps of Woundagore, I think it is. High Evolutionary is the guy. You know, I don't know if you know the character where he, you know, makes human animal hybrids or whatever. But anyway, there's this I think cow human hybrid that takes Magda in, and she dies in childbirth, giving birth to the twins. And so that's the parentage from Magneto and Magda. So anyway,
Okay, but that was a retell of the original, right?
yeah. I mean, the idea was that, okay, even though the Wizard and forget her name, I'm trying to remember, there was another Golden Age female superhero that was the mom. They raised them, but so they raised them, but they didn't, you know, they weren't the biological
Right.
parents.
They were the step parents.
Right.
Or foster
Adopted. Yeah.
adopted parents. Okay, well, okay, that's a little bit better.
Mhm.
Yeah, I meant to say, I don't think that we discussed in the last episode if there was a Stan Lee cameo.
I don't believe there was in this
but
one. Yeah.
there was one in this one, and actually it was also his wife was
That's right.
with him.
Yep.
And actually that was the last film she did before she died.
Right.
She died, I think, about a year later, July 6th in 2017, actually.
Right.
But, you know, she was a voice actress in the 90s.
Okay.
For Spider-Man, the animated series, and the Fantastic Four series.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Yes. So it was kind of interesting. Stan really did love her a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it was kind of neat that they were able to do that together before she passed. So,
Yeah, it's really special.
yes, no question. Um, we got to see the lake and Stryker,
Yes. Yes, we
and
did.
that kind of developed the story a little more.
Hmm.
Um, he had he had knocked everybody out after the school
Hmm.
blew up, and he took just the ones he wanted to take
Yeah.
for whatever reasons,
Right.
which only Stryker knows.
Right.
But so we got that part of the film as, somehow intricately involved with that, with the storyline. I I felt like the story kind of went in different directions
Hmm.
quite a few times.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it really flowed as smoothly as the last one.
Yeah, I agree. The whole striker scene could have been, done without. I think they didn't need that at all. And same thing with the sequence of, Quicksilver. As entertaining as it was, I think it was kind of superfluous.
Right. It really didn't do anything for the plot.
Right.
You know, to see Wolverine
Yeah.
now in his adamantium body,
Right.
killing the director,
Right.
and because that was
Right.
Singer's
Yeah.
cameo there,
Right.
and everybody else,
Yep.
Really, and then maybe the whole thing was for Jean and him to meet,
Yep.
and for her to calm him down, but I think they just didn't have to go as far as they did with that,
Hmm.
you
Yep.
know. But other than that, I thought it was really, um, it was entertaining,
Yeah.
and the special effects. How do you feel about them? The CG. I think there was a lot of CG in this one.
There was. It was fine, serviceable.
Yeah,
It really stood out to me too much, but fine.
yeah. I don't know. For the budget they had, it just it seemed to me like they could have done a little bit more, but maybe the budget was spent on all the actors.
That's probably right. Yeah, because they definitely had to get, Hugh Jackman to come back and reprise his role, and
Yes,
they had that, obviously. You know, uh,
and
yeah. So that's probably it. Yeah, but I did like, or was interesting meta commentary in the film when they go on a joyride with the younger X-Men characters, and they're walking out of
oh
Return of the Jedi,
yes, yes,
which did release in 1983, so they're being accurate to the time.
true, yes, yes.
But I thought it was interesting that they said they're having a debate whether or not the first Star Wars or Empire was the better movie, and they're like, well, we know that the third one sucks anyway. So
Third
obviously,
ones always suck. They said,
something like that. But I thought that was a very clever thing because, and I don't know for sure if they're talking about the film that they're in or if they're talking about X3: The Last Stand. I think it works for both.
It
This,
does. Sadly, it does.
but this one was much better than X3: The Last Stand. I have to say.
Yes. Well, I think that X3 was a crapshoot from the beginning. There just was so many, uh, potholes and things that got screwed up that,
Yeah.
by the time they got the director on that movie, they had to shoot it so quickly that there were things that
Yeah.
probably got left out and things that they threw into make up time. So
Sure.
we didn't have that issue in this one, but we did, like I said, it it felt a little disconnected to me at times.
Mhm.
You know, the story didn't flow as smoothly.
Yeah.
We kind of got where we got for, um, Jean Grey and them, Jean knowing where the professor was at, and them finding that ship in at lake at the lake, right?
Yep.
And being able to go there, and the use of Nightcrawler in this movie was a lot more extensive
Yep.
than it was in the original series.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I think it was a lot wiser too.
I agree.
I thought it interesting how Eric still, by the end of the movie, is still kind of neutral. He's friends with Charles, but he's not going to stay at the school. He's going to go out on his own. He's a loner.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I actually like that. Um, yeah, he has a different philosophy, and obviously we find out what happens to him in the next film, which I actually thought was that was actually one of the better parts of the film, of the next one. What happens to
Dark
him?
Phoenix.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay. Well, that's true. So that is one of the few redeeming qualities of Dark Phoenix, but we're not talking about that right now. So,
right.
yes. And I don't know if I'm going to suggest we do that next, but
No, we don't have to.
All right. Okay. We can save that for another time.
Yeah, I don't have it on DVD or Blu-ray, and I don't think it's definitely not on Disney Plus. It's still, I think, exclusive to HBO Max at this point. So
Okay. Well, interesting. We may get a chance to see it uh, by the time that the next Suicide Squad comes out, because I'm pretty sure that'll be on HBO Max too. So
Hmm.
maybe, I don't know.
yeah, they
That's a
haven't
thought.
said
They haven't really said anything about that.
about
Right?
platforms. I don't think so.
Okay. Well, uh, so everything else going on in this movie,
Yeah.
uh, what did you think about the teaser?
Well, obviously, I don't think we really got a. Um, there really hasn't been a film that kind of explored that, except for New Mutants a little bit, and obviously, I think there was a hint of it being, kind of a lead into Logan as well, because they're taking Wolverine's DNA, obviously. So you think that's probably the origin of X-23, and Essex Corporation was in charge of the school or the institution for New Mutants. So you have that.
Right. Well, yeah, that's a thing. Nathaniel Essex, the founder,
Yeah.
in the comics, he's Mr. Sinister,
Right.
which uh, was another story by the same author, Chris, did the same thing, author for that. And I think that was, I want to say X Factor, but I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on that too.
Yeah. I mean, he was obsessed with Scott Summers and Jean Grey, and wanted to make a genetically perfect, kind of refine the genetics of mutants to
Right. Well, that was his whole thing. He wanted everybody
Yep.
to be a mutant, have mutant powers. So
Right.
that was an interesting comic book storyline, but also something that's been explored before. So
Yep.
to me, the interesting thing about this was we had the last movie where Magneto kind of directed Mystique back on the right track. And in this movie, at the end, I feel like Raven kind of helped bring Eric back to the right track. What do you think
Yeah.
about that?
I definitely I agree with the latter, but I don't know if I agree with the former. I think it was more Xavier than Magneto with Raven.
In the Days of Future Past?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess I can go down that road. You're probably right there. But Eric was, um, I think he was an important part of that. So I don't know. I feel like that he somehow, if he hadn't have done all that he did, there would be a good chance that she would have murdered Trask. So I think that he had played a part in it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So what else you want to talk about? Oh, President Reagan.
Yeah.
We got a picture.
That was it, though. Just a picture of him. Wasn't there?
Right. And I thought there was also a little part of him on a newscast, but I could be wrong.
No, there was.
So, but not a whole lot.
Yeah, it's just archival footage for Reagan.
Yeah. So no fake actor.
No. No, if you want that, you need to watch Wonder Woman 84.
Yes, definitely. No question about that. That was definitely good. Yes, and by the way, we strongly recommend that you do watch these movies that we're talking about. Your opinion matters to us. We'd love to hear from you, and we are just sharing our points of views. So we hope that you enjoy what we do, because we have a 30-year difference between the two of us. So
right.
I think our opinions are pretty, well, they're not the same always, that's for sure. Plus, I forget more, and thank God you can remember more. So it's all good.
Yeah.
So what else did you want to talk about this movie?
Well, they brought back Moira McTaggart. That's relevant, I think, and the subplot of him taking away her memories in first class and now bringing them back, and trying to figure out how to work with somebody that you know but they don't know you. I thought that was an interesting angle that they worked with. So
right, and in the comics, she's actually part of an X team. I can't remember which one, but she is part of an X team.
Okay.
I don't think she has any powers, but we do know that her and Charles do develop a relationship, somewhat of a relationship.
That's right.
So that kind of goes full circle on this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that for the most part, things intertwine between episodes pretty well.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the only thing, like I said, is I felt like some of it was a little disjointed,
Mm-hmm.
But that's my opinion.
Yep.
Okay, what else you got?
I think that's it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, well, then there's nothing left but the Raven then.
Yep.
And I'm struggling with this, but I'm going to give it an 8.
Okay.
I thought it was, for the most part, good.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, there were some disjointed spots in there for me that I didn't really care about.
Yeah. No, I think 8's perfectly appropriate. I think they handled the time period well. I really appreciate the characters they did work with, introducing them. Storm, we get Mohawk Storm, which is always a favorite of mine. And I think that they've done actually a really good job with all that stuff. So, but again, I think from a pacing standpoint, a writing standpoint, there were extra things in there that I think took away from the story. So,
didn't belong.
Yeah. So.
There were a few things in there, but
Sure.
For the most part, like I said, good watch. 8 is an enjoyable watch. So
Very much. Yeah.
so any of you out there that haven't seen it, go for it.
Right. Yep. Agreed.
Okay.
All right. Good deal. Well, let's wrap it up there then. Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So thank you all for joining us for another episode of Pop's Collection. If you have any feedback, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, send us an email, popscollectionpodcast@gmail.com. And we will see you next time. Goodbye and God bless.
Goodbye. God bless, and tell your friends.